The scent of chrysanthemums hung heavy in the air, a strange, sweet contrast to the cold, hard reality of the 1920s Chicago underworld. It was Monday morning, November 10th, 1924, and in the back room of Schofield's flower shop, the dapper, ruthless boss of the North Side gang, Dion O'Banion, was meticulously trimming flowers. He was a man who had sung in a choir as a boy, only to grow up and become one of the city's most feared bootleggers and racketeers. He was a man who had double-crossed the powerful South Side mob, a man who knew his life was forfeit. But even O'Banion, the arch-killer, couldn't have predicted the chilling, almost polite manner in which his final appointment would arrive. Before we dive into the full story of the murder that sparked Chicago's most brutal gang war, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the Calendar of Crime. O'Banion's flower shop was no ordinary florist. It was a front, a nerve center for his vast bootlegging empire. His rivalry with the South Side's Johnny Torrio and Al Capone had reached a boiling point. The final straw was O'Banion's brazen double cross involving the Sieben brewery raid. He had convinced Torrio to buy his share of the brewery just before tipping off the police, netting himself a fortune and leaving Torrio to face the law. This act of betrayal was an unforgivable insult, a public humiliation that demanded a bloody response. The Jenna brothers, a powerful Italian-American gang allied with Torrio, were also clamoring for O'Banion's head after he refused to forgive a massive gambling debt. The hit was sanctioned. The assassins chosen for the job were a trio of professional killers: Frankie Yale, a notorious New York mobster, and two Jenna gunmen, John Scalise and Albert Anselmi. They arrived at Schofield's under the guise of a flower order for a funeral. O'Banion, ever the gracious host, greeted them. Yale, a man O'Banion knew and trusted, extended his hand in a gesture of false friendship. This was the signal. As O'Banion reached out to shake hands, Yale gripped his hand tightly, pulling him forward and pinning him in place. The flower shop, a place of beauty and life, instantly became a slaughterhouse. Scalise and Anselmi opened fire. The first 2 shots were fired into O'Banion's chest, followed by 2 more into his throat and 2 into his cheeks. 6 bullets in total. The speed and brutality of the execution were shocking. O'Banion, pinned by Yale, had no chance to draw the 2 pistols he was known to carry. He collapsed instantly, his body falling among the very flowers he had been tending. The killers vanished into the Chicago traffic, leaving behind a scene of floral chaos and cold-blooded murder. The murder of Dion O'Banion was not just a killing, it was a declaration of war. The funeral was a spectacle, one of the most lavish in Chicago history, attended by thousands of mourners and rival gangsters alike, including Torrio and Capone, who paid their respects in a chilling display of hypocrisy. The Catholic Church, however, refused to bury him in consecrated ground due to his criminal life. O'Banion's lieutenants, Jaime Weiss and Bugs Moran, immediately vowed revenge. The North Side gang's retaliation was swift and brutal. Within weeks, Torrio was ambushed and nearly killed, forcing him to flee Chicago and hand his empire over to Al Capone. O'Banion's death had inadvertently created the monster that would become the most famous gangster in American history. The next 5 years were a relentless cycle of violence, drive-by shootings and bombings, culminating in the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, where Capone's men wiped out the remnants of the North Side gang. The murder in the flower shop was the spark that lit the fuse of Chicago's bloodiest era. The story of Dion O'Banion is a stark reminder that in the world of organized crime, a handshake can be a death sentence, and even a florist can be a king. His murder on November 10, 1924, forever changed the landscape of American crime. Thanks for watching. Please comment, share, like, and subscribe for future episodes from the Calendar of Crime.